Good evening, members. Good evening, officers. Welcome along to our meeting of Cabinet. This evening we have got 12 items on the agenda for consideration tonight. We will begin with agenda item number 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you. Apology from Councillor McGowan.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. I'll take the county councillors on block. Are there any further declarations of interest from any member this evening? No? Very good. Thank you. Agenda item number 3 is the Cabinet member decision record, which are on pages 7 to 9. There's only one CMDR from Councillor Brown for consideration. Are there any matters arising that any member wishes to raise? Very good, in which case we note the CMDR. Agenda item number 4 are Cabinet member updates. Does any Cabinet member wish to update us on anything in their portfolio? Councillor Emma Callaghan.
Hi there. Just want to update on a few things that are happening, work that's moving forward. I'm really pleased to say that the Women's Safety Forum is now meeting monthly with a clear theme for each session. So we focus on practical action as well as discussion and challenges of how we improve. The next meeting is Monday, 19th of January at 7 p.m. It's online, so women can join from wherever they are. The theme is personal safety. And as part of this, free personal alarms are currently available at the Basildon Centre reception, and these are available to any women or girls in the borough who would like one. So the second update is about the £40 million Pride in Place funding. So as some residents will already know, Basildon has secured £40 million of government investment, thanks to the leader, and through the Pride in Place programme that the government has established. 20 million of that will go directly to Chalvedon, which is very welcome and needed. And right now, the focus is on setting up the boards and the governance. We need to get it right and make sure this money delivers real improvement for the borough. So although it doesn't sound very exciting at the moment, work is happening and the boards should be live in April 2026. We're setting up a series of new forums for local creatives and businesses. So next week, we're launching 3 new forums: a creatives forum, a musicians forum, and a food and events forum. And this is about giving local people a chance to share ideas, help shape how we support culture, events, and the local economy. You know, if we want Basildon to feel more confident, creative, and alive, we need to work with the people already doing the work. And this is about steady progress, and more updates will come soon as this work moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Cabinet members? Councillor Power.
Thank you. Just a quick update on some of the great work that's being delivered in Pathways. So as a bit of a roundup, last year Pathways had a great year and we really expanded on the delivery from the year before. We had 15 separate careers events throughout the whole year, which reached around 1,000 people. We've referred nearly 900 people to services within Pathways, so that's for like mental health support, maybe employability, upskilling, training and new jobs. And we were able to expand our service last year, and we actually have recruited a dedicated careers advisor who is there to kind of pick up anybody that might fall through the gaps of the services we currently work with. They started in October, and so far we have seen 10 people work with him and gain employment, with a lot more on the way. As everybody knows, we helped support the Wetherspoons recruitment, and around 60 people went into work via those recruitment days. And we're looking to work with a lot more businesses that are coming into the borough and helping support that local recruitment and those local jobs. And we're kicking off the year tomorrow with a new year, new start skills fair, which has a number of different providers offering new skills, chances to get into a new hobby, upskill yourself, meet new people, really start the new year with a new skill. And then next month, we will see our annual apprenticeship fair. So an apprenticeship is a great way for people of all ages to start a career, change career, and train and earn money at the same time. We have a number of great training providers and businesses across the borough that are going to come along and share their apprenticeship opportunities and hopefully get some people into work. And off the back of one of our previous construction careers fairs, 7 young people gained an apprenticeship in plumbing and construction. So it really does work, these targeted job fairs. People know what they're coming for, know what they're looking for, and obviously are gaining actual real life jobs out of it. We have a great year of plans and we'll continue to obviously expand on what we're offering. And Basildon Construction Academy will be coming with a physical and accessible site at the first part of this year as well. So we're expanding our offer there and making sure that we're getting all of our young people into the jobs of all the new regeneration and homes we have being built across the borough. We're putting them directly in front of those employers. Thank you.
Jobs for life for the next generation of Basildon Bricky Chippies and Sparkies. Councillor McGeorge, it's the line.
Thank you very much. Just a couple from me. Bless you, whoever that was. That's really cute. On the 26th of January, between 11 and 2 at the George Hurd Centre, we are hosting a Winter Warmer Wellness Day. This is a free drop-in service for residents where we will be offering free health checks, free refreshments and hot drinks, advice and guidance on staying warm and well during the winter, a slipper swap offering free slippers and fittings, and some winter warmer giveaways, I can't speak today, to help keep residents' homes warm. As you will have seen on social media, we have received £284,000 of funding endorsed by the Better Care Fund Board to improve health, wellbeing and independence for our disabled residents. This investment will deliver £38,000 for special education need hubs, £92,000 for pool pods at the Wickford Swimming Pool and the Sporting Village Teaching Pool, £60,000 to improve accessibility at the Lake Meadows play area, £12,000 for an accessibility ramp at the Lee Chapel North Community Centre, and £60,000 for a new changing places facility in the town centre. So all of these investments are aimed at making our residents' lives easier and our borough more accessible.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. Just want to follow on from other members of the Cabinet in talking around how this Council has been proactive in engaging with members of the public, and that has continued within my portfolio around children and young people. Over the last few weeks, myself and Mr Taylor and officers from the Community Development Team have been going out to visit some of our outreach sessions that are taking place with our youth clubs across the borough, listening to the voices of young people and involving them in shaping the future of our youth services, which is absolutely vital, particularly as we face the future with local government reorganisation coming and realigning that with our corporate objectives to make Basildon the best place for young people to be able to grow up, live and work in the future. Early intervention has been absolutely key, and listening to young people's views on the facilities that they are able to access, the consistency of staffing, the regularity of programmes and the importance of youth work and youth centres has been absolutely key to that, and I want to thank all young people that have been involved in those discussions and the Youth Advisory Forum, and those conversations will continue over the coming weeks and months, and it's something that is absolutely vital. Linked to that, I was absolutely delighted that the Planning Committee gave approval for the new play zone to be introduced at Whitmore Park in Freems. It is going to absolutely transform an area of concrete that is disused at the moment, has been disused for a long period of time, and create positive opportunities for young people to be able to play sport and enjoy the environment that they live in. So absolutely delighted with the developments that are taking place there. As this is also our first meeting of the new year, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of the Towngate Theatre staff for all of the work they did over Christmas with the Christmas pantomime. Thoroughly enjoyed by absolutely everybody that attended. I know they worked tirelessly round the clock to be able to make such an enjoyable experience for members of the public. So on behalf of me and the Cabinet, thank you to all of the Towngate Theatre staff.
Very good. Well said. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. There's a few things. I don't believe in the top priority should be nicking people for dropping toffee papers, or one of my constituents, and it ended up in the national newspaper getting pinched for their kiddie dropping a crisp, or toffee papers. They shouldn't be dropping them, and people should be corrected. But they shouldn't be the focus of enforcement teams in coalition with yourself, Mr Chairman, and the Chief Executive. The contractor's been directed, and number one priority is the people bumping old fridges, tyres and other junk and rubbish. That is blighting people's communities, and they are dangerous, very dangerous, so we're dealing with that. Work is progressing to finalise and finance pigeon control in the town centre. It might sound trivial, but the German word for rat is Rattenflieger, flying rat. They're a public health menace. I know people like pigeons, but I like cats. I wouldn't keep hundreds of cats in my house. And you shouldn't have hundreds and hundreds of pigeons flying around the town centre defecating and being a public health hazard. And equally, some of those pigeons are not in the best of health either. But we will do it in a humane, fair way. But obviously, it all costs money, and working with the leader to finance that is important. My third thing, Mr. Leader, is that we've had some real good, positive results this Christmas with the town centre wardens. Yet again, something you spearheaded in the summer, because yes, the police have been more present from conversations with the district commander. Like yourself, I'm very quick to pull him up when he gets things wrong. But this Christmas in the town centre, there's been a visible presence of police officers. And again, thanks to yourself speaking to the government to get some extra finance into that. And our town centre wardens. And just to give an example, the Sunday after Christmas, I popped into town to get some bits and pieces. You know, the old January sales. Why pay $4 when you can hit the sales? And there was a guy, he wasn't harmful, but very loud, to put it nicely, quite disturbing. Didn't bother me, but if I was a lady shopper, I might be a bit concerned. And literally 10 seconds away with the town centre wardens, and I went, excuse me, gentlemen, there's a guy behind the market stalls that are closed, making a bit of a commotion, and they went straight over. Now, how it was previous times, there wouldn't have been those wardens. The police redeployment would not have been seen officers in the town, and that's been quite positive. Yes, we've had the jokes with the kids ditching fairy liquid into the fountain, but that's happened in Basildon since pretty much the start of time when it was installed, and it did look good when it was icy. But, and speaking to businesses in the town centre, it's really, really good. And just one other thing, because it may seem trivial, but people work in our town centre, and there's people who go back to long riding and parts of Vange through past where Toys R Us was in the town centre. That darkened alleyway, a business person stopped me in the town centre saying their staff had to go back. I text the ward member, who happened to be yourself, Leader, and you've spoken to Basildon Town Centre Management, and we've got some of the staff there crime fighting personal alarm kits. If there's any trader in the town centre who would like personal alarm kits for the staff, they need just whistle. And on that, and the final point, I've managed to squeeze money out of Essex County Council. And I didn't have to lie and sit on from a posh part of North Essex. £500 has just been approved to buy extra crime fighting material, which I think is really helpful, because it is the perception of crime. And by seeing that uniform presence in the town centre reassures people back into that town centre, because when that hospital opens, and I don't want to sound like Robert Jenrick and you're Nigel Farage, Mr. Leader, from earlier on today, but it was your intervention to get that day surgery open at where the Devons was, is going to help to get the people back shopping in that town centre when there is reports of up to 200,000 people going through the town centre for day operations, be they private or, thanks to you, NHS patients. That is going to make Lakeside so jealous, because that will bring the footfall through. But there is one thing that I must need to do. I noticed it last Saturday, was that really nice amusement centre, you might call, on the top floor of what was the old Debenhams. There was a lot of kids. They weren't causing problems, but I think we might have to speak to the Eastgate and their security team about getting some decorum, would be the nice word. We was all young. None of us were perfect when we was young, but I think a bit more decorum. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. It never ceases to amaze me that our resident Brexiteer can lock into European languages quite like you, Cal. It is great to see.
Sorry, it's a Latin word. The basis of most European languages.
Very good. Otherwise known as German. Councillor Brown.
Okay, yeah, just a few things. First of all, the local plan consultation has now come to an end, and I just want to thank all the thousands of residents who engaged with that on our Commonplace platform, who also wrote in, who engaged particularly in our face-to-face events, where we had around 500 residents come along to those different events across the borough in our 6 area committee areas, who were able to ask questions of our planning team and to fully understand what we're trying to accomplish with that local plan. So I really want to thank residents for being a part of that process. At the moment, we've got our TSMs, that's our tenancy satisfaction questionnaire, out for the moment for all our tenants. As a landlord, as a council, we know we have over 10,500 homes, and it's really important that as a landlord, we serve those tenants. And so I would encourage all of you who have not had the opportunity yet to fill in that survey to do so. You can find it online. We have also our housing officers engaging with our communities and are going around people's properties and also telephone calls, so that to ensure that everybody has access to be able to feed back to us how they feel we are doing as a landlord and what that looks like. Feeding into that is our Housing Improvement Board. We have now many resident tenants that are sitting on that board and are engaging with us to give their perspective on how we can improve our homes that we own across the borough. And I'm really excited about that work. It's a true partnership between those residents that have come forward to represent the tenants and ourselves as cabinet members, myself, Councillor McGeorge and Councillor Emma Callaghan all sit on that as part of our portfolio. Councillor E. Callaghan for the engagement with residents and Councillor McGeorge for sheltered homes. And it's been a really success story so far in feeding into how we can change our policies and improve what we do. I also want to mention that our first-time buyers event that we had towards the end of last year was really successful in terms of the number of first-time buyers we were able to help and advise, but also the way in which we could engage with local businesses who are mortgage advisors, who are estate agents, who are solicitors. And it was really positive, not only for our residents who were looking to purchase a home for the first time, whether that was outright ownership or shared schemes or some of our more affordable homes, but it was really positively received by our businesses. We're therefore going to run another event on a larger scale this time that's going to be in the town centre towards the end of March, and hopefully by the next cabinet I'll be able to bring you a bigger update on that. SWEP, our severe weather funding that comes from the central government. We know that at the moment we are experiencing far colder weather than what we would normally do, and that has an impact on those who are choosing or find themselves rough sleeping at the moment. And it's important that nobody is left rough sleeping and that we can use this funding. And the homeless team are looking at how we can best use that funding to support those people so that they are not left rough sleeping during a time of such severe weather. And also we are looking at how our homeless team can support those residents moving forwards into more secure accommodation.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. The only thing from me is just a reminder to any member who is watching that we have the members' budget briefing at 6 o'clock on Monday evening as well. Agenda item number 5 is the Cabinet Work Programme, which is on pages 11 to 12. We, following a decision of the Cabinet last Thursday, we just need to add into the forward plan for the 3rd of February meeting an update on the joint committee governance structures and the outlines so that we can enact the resolution passed by Cabinet last week. Any other member have anything they wish to add to the work programme? What's that? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Agenda item number 6 is the capital and investment strategy and monitoring for QT. Members will note from the report in front of them, it confirms the Council's capital programme, the borrowing and investments for the Council, which, as you can see from the report, remain well controlled, affordable and within all of the approved limits. Capital spending as of Q2 was £5.3 million lower than expected. All of this is going to come, I'm sure, as a huge disappointment to members of the opposition. Gross debt at the end of September is not 700 million, it is down at 673 million, and as we have noted from the reports that we have taken through Cabinet and some of the other measures that we will be taking in the budget and into the next financial year, that will drop significantly further as well. Our investment income is ahead of forecast. Our average returns on those investments just shy of 5%. I think it's worthwhile us reflecting on this because we receive criticism from this from members of the opposition who tell us that the Council's debt level is too high, but they don't tell us that if we was to take those debt levels down and we was to sell off those assets, they don't tell us how they would replace the income that those supported debts generate for the council, or indeed what cuts they would make in order to take the circa £3.5 million a year that's in the budget as profit from these investments, what they would do in order to plug that gap. But we are very close to the budget. I'm sure we will be seeing an alternative budget in just a few weeks' time, and I look forward to seeing exactly what we will be doing when it comes to those investments, because as you can see from the report in front of you, our investment income, as I say, is ahead of forecast. The overall picture, as members will note, is that the council's finances remain strong. I think it is also worth noting from the business cases that were submitted to the government as part of the LGR process that every single council in Essex had their debt levels reviewed by SIPFA, the government's independent body, and SIPFA were of the view that Basildon Council's assets were incredibly strong and our investments were doing very well in terms of their return for the council. So it does demonstrate that the steps, the governance arrangements that this council has put in place when it comes to its investments and its borrowing, with the support of Avison and Young and some of the other institutional bodies that we use for our due diligence, has served the council and the taxpayer prudently, as well as protecting the revenue budget. I will pause for questions. I'll begin with the opposition. I note two of our opposition leaders are not here tonight. There mustn't be a public audience for them to play up to. So in the end, we have Councillor Barnes. We're not disappointed, I'm sure. Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. What impact do the costs of servicing our debt have on our ability to provide services?
Thank you. Well, the answer to that question is very easy, because our debt level is producing a more than £3 million profit to the council every single year. And as a consequence of that, and you should break the debt down into what it is. Circa 50% of our debt is HRA debt, which is linked to the fact that this council owns 10,500 council houses that are then linked to around about £2 billion worth of assets. But of course, the HRA is separate to the general fund, where we have our commercial assets, which is, again, I'll repeat, is performing well above forecast. And despite the debt level, they are generating over £3 million a year in profit rent for the council. So how do we as a council provide weekly black bin collections for our residents? It is because of those investments and the fact that those investments are generating that profit for the council. How do we continue to provide leisure services at the level that we do? It is because of those investments that we have made. So we are not inhibited as a council by the debt level. In fact, we are free to make more choices as a council because the debt that we have is supported debt that is backed up in the HRA against almost £2 billion worth of assets, homes that we could sell if we needed to, in order to reduce that debt. I don't suggest we do that, because that would mean kicking council tenants out of their homes. So again, if the opposition argument in the next few weeks as we come to the budget is that the HRA debt should come down, just tell us which council houses are you selling and which council tenants are you booting out of their homes. And on the commercial side, in the general fund, there is, as I say, around about £300 million of debt that is linked to around about £1.6 billion worth of assets, which again are generating £3 million a year in profit rent for the council. So unfortunately, when it comes to the debt question, it falls over from the opposition, because the amount that we are receiving in income is very, very good. And as you see from the yields that are in this report in front of you, they are performing over and above forecast. On the direct investments within the commercial portfolio, again, I think it is important to remember that SIPFA tell us every year that we are obligated as a council to look at how we can dispose of assets and reduce the debt profile. This council has done that. And in the last year, we have disposed of a direct asset where we made this council in excess of £2 million profit. So on top of what we were receiving annually in yield, we made a more than £2 million profit on the asset. We have laid out before Cabinet in part 2, so I'm not going to go into it, but we have laid out before Cabinet how we are going to significantly reduce that debt further with the disposals of further commercial ventures that this council has as well. So on this, the council is performing incredibly well, and I thank Miss French and all of our officers, as well as our partners, for all of their work, AY and others, for the work that they've done to get us to the position that we're in, where these investments that we have, as I say, are the reason that we are able to provide weekly bin collection. So when you hear the argument that we have to get rid of that £700 million of debt and we should have a fire sale of all of those assets, just remember, if we do it, you go back to fortnightly black bin collections, you go back to questions about which leisure centres we're closing, and you go back to the dark, dark days that this council found itself in, with piles of black bags on the street corners, rats infested in them, and the Environment Agency having to come round to the streets of Basildon to look at exactly how this council was treating its citizens. That will never, ever happen again on our watch. Does any member of the Cabinet have any questions on the report in front of us? Councillor Callaghan.
I just want to, put my opinion forward from a performance perspective, that looking at the report in detail, the Q2 forecast tells us that things are under control financially and there's clear discipline and oversight. I just want to say well done to officers for all your hard work to, keep this behemoth of an organisation moving. And I just want to say where other councils are cutting back, Basildon's stepping up. And I remember those days when we had fortnightly bin collections and the trolleys piled high with black bags full of household waste and cats on top of them being sick. And honestly, it was... You'd walk around the borough and just feel like this was the most forgotten, neglected, abused town that you can imagine. And you look around now, we got weekly bin collections. You got pride teams going out and transforming, streets where people live outside their house. So I think that, just want to say congratulations to council officers and the administration. And I'd just say that with this foundation and the strength of our financial position, we can just concentrate on getting on with the job and delivering for Basildon people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other member? No. The report is for noting. We shall consider it noted. Agenda item number 7 is Sport for Confidence Community Health Model. I'm going to ask Councillor McGeorge to introduce the item, but I would also welcome Lindsay Barrett from Sport for Confidence as well. You're welcome to get involved, answer any questions as and when we come to that part of the meeting if you want to. You don't have to. That's you're not obligated to. But hopefully you'll feel able to. Councillor McGeorge.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will say, any questions, please ask Lindsay. She is the expert on this. Don't come for me. So the report in front of you provides Cabinet with an overview of the work we're undertaking with Sport for Confidence to develop what we are calling the Basildon Community Health Model. At its heart, this is an innovative and preventative approach to supporting residents' health and wellbeing by bringing together occupational therapy, inclusive physical activity, community assets and lived experience in a way that is practical, person-centred and sustainable. The model responds directly to some of the challenges we know exist across the system. Rising demand, increasing complexity of need and too many residents falling between services that are either too general to be effective or too specialised to feel relevant to their lives. What Sport for Confidence offers is a way of bridging that gap using occupational therapy principles to enable people to participate, build confidence and maintain independence through meaningful activity in mainstream community settings. This is also a particularly important piece of work in the context of LGR. As we prepare for potential changes to structures, boundaries and responsibilities, it is vital that we are able to demonstrate strong place-based approaches that focus on prevention, early intervention and collaboration across health, social care and leisure. The Community Health Model does exactly that. It shows how local government can lead system working, not by duplicating its statutory services, but by reshaping how support is accessed and delivered earlier, closer to people's everyday lives. A key strength of this model is the way it places occupational therapy at the front door through a single point of access. This ensures people receive the right support at the right level at the right time and reduces the risk of inappropriate referrals, delays or escalation of need. Importantly, this is not about creating dependency on services. It is about enabling independence, building confidence and making better use of the strong network of community, voluntary and leisure provision that already exists within the borough. By doing so, we are not only improving outcomes for individuals, but also helping to manage demand and pressure across the wider system, something that will be increasingly important as we move through LGR. The model also aligns strongly with our wider ambitions around inclusion and accessibility. Through partnership working, including targeted investment in accessible facilities and adaptations, we are removing barriers that prevent people with disabilities and long-term conditions from participating fully in community life. This is about fairness, dignity and ensuring that no one is excluded simply because the system was not designed with them in mind. The founder of Sport for Confidence, Lindsay, is over there as we've introduced her. She brings experience, lived insight and a clear understanding of how the model operates on the ground, and I'd strongly encourage members to ask questions, particularly around the delivery outcomes, scalability and how this approach could be championed more widely as we engage with partners and neighbouring authorities through the LGR process. In summary, this report is not just an update on a partnership, it is an example of the kind of proactive, preventative and person-centred approach that we will need more of as LGR evolves.
Thank you, Councillor McGeorge. Do you guys want to say anything, Mr. Taylor, Lindsay, at this point? Okay, very good. Opposition have any questions? No, of course not. It's good news. Okay, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Lindsay here again tonight. Some of you may be aware that she came along to our area committee towards the end of last year, and we were able to help her in a small way with some funding and support the work she does. I think it's really important to focus on why this is different. It was really interesting when Lindsay came along to our area committee to hear about the work she's doing as a physiotherapist, but using that as a way and using sport as a way of solving people's issues around being able to live more independently, being able to function in a better way for themselves, and the massive impact that has in a positive way of both in preventative further difficulties, but in resolving and helping people live in a more higher quality of life with the struggles that they have through different physical illnesses and disabilities. And I think that whole focus that she has on early intervention, consistency, and being able to do that in a way that then alleviates other pressures on other health services and reduces the need for these clients to need other health services because of the work she's done. But I think the most empowering thing was listening about some of the case studies around individuals who now have been able to live a more proactive, more independent life. And that's ultimately what we all want, isn't it? That strong social value, that working in partnership, and the financial benefits for this as a borough in terms of reducing the need on the health service. But the bigger story really is the positive impact it's having on those clients' lives. And I'd really encourage you to go along and see what she does.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. It's not very often I say I'm jealous of another Cabinet member's portfolio, but I am jealous of Councillor McGeorge tonight for presenting this report, because the opportunity to work with Sport for Confidence is incredibly powerful, the work that Lindsay and the team do. And I've seen firsthand and value the work that's undertaken. I was delighted 18 months ago to welcome the Minister for Sport and take Steph Peacock over to Sport for Confidence to see firsthand the activities that provided over at the Basden Sporting Village. Some incredibly competitive games of table tennis and badminton that were played on the day, and I know that still continues as we speak. Just to kind of echo the comments from Councillor Brown there, I think what Sport for Confidence have been able to do is exactly the type of community health work that local authorities have the ability to do. And I think Councillor McGeorge makes a really important point around local government reorganisation. This is really important as we look at the size of local government, that we need to be big enough to be able to make the impact within our communities, but also get the right size to be able to react appropriately to the needs of within our borough. And I think the work that Mr Taylor and Lindsay Barrett over the last 10 years have been able to demonstrate is the impact that we can have when we know our communities well and when we know our organisations that serve the communities within our borough. Just like to touch on a couple of things and ask Ms Barrett a couple of questions, if that's okay. When I've seen participants and individuals that have engaged in Sport for Confidence services. I've also seen them engage in with multiple other services, and I think that shows the ability that you've got to be able to work in partnership with other organisations. So I just wondered if you'd be able to talk about the work that you've been able to do with other organisations across the borough, how that works, but also the referral process into Sport for Confidence and how that supports an individual on the journey that they're going on.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. Just before I answer that question, I wanted to share that I've worked in the borough as an occupational therapist for 26 years. So I started in Basildon, so this will be year 27, and 10 years ago was the first occupational therapist in the whole country to work in a leisure centre. That happened in Basildon, and that innovation and that approach on day one is now started to be explored and replicated, and I genuinely believe the model that we're developing here is delivering on that NHS 10-year plan and showing the art of the possible when it comes to prevention and care closer to home and empowering communities with an equal balance in power and control over how people live their lives. And I think that's really central to what we're trying to do. We say from day one we can't do things on our own, and this is a whole systems approach. So everything we're doing involves systems thinking, starting with the person at the centre with no labels, and then working with that individual to see what's important to them, what matters, what do they want to be able to do in their life, and then for me as a therapist to assess and connect the dots, not to signpost, not to say, I'm here, I'll push you over there, but to work with the system to build confidence and capability so people can navigate it confidently. So that means completing my assessment, but not saying, I'm done in health, sorry about the transport issues you're having, but to then work with that individual around how they can access transport, how they can look at education, how I can support them in housing, and joining the dots across the whole system rather than looking in isolation, and taking that whole systems approach to change and challenging inactivity.
Thank you very much. A couple of points from myself, if I can. I've spent a lot of time this week talking to various different people about adults and children's social care, and when we bring that into what I hope will be the South West Essex, but could be the South Essex Council, and getting ourselves ready for what that means in terms of budgets and all the rest of it, and that wider development of family hubs and trying to make sure that in our part of the world we develop that out, because we just don't have that. We're that's the beauty of LGR. It's going to give us what other parts of the country have and take away that postcode lottery when it comes to things like adults and children's social care. With regards to the NHS, the biggest thing that I think will definitely take hold, or should have taken hold already, but will, is around social prescribing. And we as a council and as an administration have invested in social prescribing and in those platforms. How involved are you in that? Do you receive referrals through the social prescribing platform that we operate here locally, and is that how you're getting some of those referrals as well?
Thanks, Grant. So we do work with social prescribers. I would say as occupational therapists, we're the only AHP dual trained in physical health and mental health at the point of qualification. So we are that additional layer of expertise that can support social prescribing. So hugely value that workforce. But that workforce who sit in all the spaces they need to, prior to somebody coming through into a social prescribing system, there are individuals who are furthest away, who have multiple complex needs that require that holistic assessment to be able to be supported effectively through that prescribing. So it's not about one or the other. I guess it's, for me, it's about layering the expertise so the person sees the right person in the right place at the right time. So we are connected at a primary care level. What we actually do is support the social prescribers through training and education. So, for example, people with learning disabilities facing the greatest inequalities, it's really important that social prescribers have the training and understanding how to best support that population, not just around annual health checks, but around all the other issues that they may face, mental health, and all of the issues that people might face with their mental health. We can't look to one place for that solution. It's about saying, right, do we need that extra layer of expertise here, and how can we supercharge the social prescribing workforce? And I think that's where we've found our role. They are hugely connected and they are a real resource, but I do think we can build even more structure around to support them to be as effective as possible.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Powell.
Thank you, and thank you, Minister, for this report. I think this is a great example of this administration, this council, sort of enabling the experts that we have in this community and the great work that happens in the community, and sort of bring it to the forefront and showing how working together can create real solutions to problems that we have. Just, I don't know if I've missed it in the report, but obviously one question I have is around accessibility. Obviously I know that you run from the Sporting Village and you are based there. Is there plans to expand that to across the borough, or is there ways for people in other areas of the borough, obviously, to be able to access you and that support?
So yeah, although I have a base at the Sporting Village, we're actually partly funded through adult health and social care, and we have a public health focus as well. So I will work with individuals where they need me to work with them. So considering people's environment and the impact of the environment and their health and well-being is crucial. So the Sporting Village is an incredible facility that provides me as a therapist opportunities I certainly didn't have in the NHS. And I often say I am more of a health professional in that environment than in any other setting I've worked. And that's saying something, and I've loved my time in the NHS. But yeah, it's important to look at where those community assets are and meeting people where they're at. And as Councillor Ferguson said, there are so many clubs and groups and organisations doing incredible work. How can I connect people to those individuals? And if there is a gap, really being led by the data to say what is there for this population. If it's not there, we need to build it. And where does it need to be built, and how can I influence that as an OT with my team with physical activity at the centre? So yeah, not just in a building, but at the places people need us. We don't want to create dependency, so the Sporting Village is often an anchor place for a lot of people where they can feel like they belong when they previously hadn't, but that's not for everybody. So we do need to build that elsewhere.
Yeah. So I think this is where the report is coming into its own, in the fact that the work that Lindsay and the OTs do, being fully aware of their huge wealth of medical and community work. This operates at 3 levels really. So in essence, where we're at as a bit of a problem at the minute is the amount that's coming through to Sport for Confidence and their ability to be able to meet people as and when they need to. So if we can therefore produce a greater arm of others within the community that are able to meet people before, I guess they reach the point where they will need that extensive or even crisis level of support, that's what we're trying to do through social prescribing, through our activity centres, through any number of different voluntary and community groups that are operating in our borough. So we are hoping that this work will go from not only from Sport for Confidence, but we'll start to see many partners play their role, so they're supporting people at the right time in the right places. So it's not only the Sporting Village, it could be in the community halls, it could be in our activity centres, it could be in any kind of community setting. And I think it really drives us back to the point that Councillor McGeorge was making at the start, which is at the bottom of this. Ultimately, how do we make our environments and our spaces and places more accessible for as many people as possible, so as actually in the greater scheme they are living fulfilling independent lives as much as possible. So when we're working with colleagues around things like Better Care Fund, and in the solution being how do we make environments better, how do we put pool pods in, how do we put accessible toilets in places, people are more independent. When they need that support, we'll be able to push them through the social prescription to where they need to, and when they really need support from an occupational therapist, we've got that embedded within the leisure contract. It's not there because we've got a lot of refunding, and we're thinking what happens when the money runs out, like in many areas. This is embedded in the way we work in Basildon and has been for many years. So this is what we're trying to do here, and I think that's ties back to with so much of what Councillor McGeorge has been talking about, and so much of the work that Councillor Ferguson does from a sport and physical activity point of view also.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Hi, Lindsay. It's been really nice to hear more about your work, and it all sounds really positive and important. And I just want to ask you, as an OT who works really closely with residents, what do you think future councils under LGR really need to understand if they're serious about prevention and early intervention?
Thank you. It's a great question. I think it's about positioning as people as experts in their own lives when it comes to being able to prevent ill health and promote good health. So it's about listening to voices of lived experience and building and creating services with people, not for people. And that's how we'll get it right in terms of LGR, because actually, we often in systems and services, my experience has been that we have to work within nice, neat boxes, but the people and the residents that I work with don't fit into nice, neat boxes. They may have a health condition, they may be disabled, they may also be in a caring role. I have adults with learning disabilities, with elderly parents, with newly diagnosed with dementia. You know, these are the people aren't complex, but the challenges are. And if we actually really centre those people's voices and think, how do we position them as experts, and those people help create the services and change, I think that's how we'll get it right.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for coming along. I think I would say this one night, but I think it lends itself to the argument for the 5 model, and to have a smaller but more powerful unitary council that is more connected to people at the local level. But we are now just weeks away from finding out which configuration we will get and who we will be partnered with as part of LGR. So exciting times. Councillor McGeorge, do you have anything else? No. In which case, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. The agenda asks us, or the report asks us, to note the report, and we can consider it noted. Agenda item 8, we are moving to our meeting on the 3rd of February. So agenda item number 9 is the town centre update, and we're asking Mr. Tizard for verbal updates on the regenerations going on in the town centre.
Okay, thank you, Leader. As part of our culture-led regeneration in the town centre, we are starting to accelerate the events venue project and have secured the services of a very experienced consultancy to drive this project forward. This includes an in-depth options appraisal alongside a robust treasury business case and financial strategy. We are also working on some meanwhile uses in the town centre that will drive footfall and resident interaction, and we hope to have the first of these up and running in time for the World Cup this summer. Work continues on the Basildon Regeneration Partnership, including finalising legal documents for the new Basildon Health Centre, and we remain on target to deliver this by August of this year. We have a new Futures event on Thursday next week that will bring together stakeholders from across the regeneration spectrum. It will include senior central government figures, and judging from the buzz from this already, it really proves that momentum is starting to gather pace in the Basildon Town Centre. We're getting close to finalising negotiations to take over Basildon Town Centre management, which will give the council control over the future of the public realm in the town centre. And we are in advanced negotiations with developers on large-scale residential and commercial schemes that, it's too early to announce, but we are moving quickly towards the pre-app stage, and I remain optimistic that this year is the year that the Basildon Town Centre really starts to change for the better. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tizard. Does any member of the Cabinet wish to ask any questions about the regeneration of the town centre? Mr. Smith, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, what we really need is, you've been good enough to get some lights installed on the side of Marks and Spencer's. They need to be flicked on. Please don't tell me relying on UK Power Network, the biggest crooks who operate with 70s style pre-nationalised companies who are the bane of local government. That's point number 1. Again, it's going to be about security, public hygiene in the town centre is really important. You speak about the World Cup. I'm not a football person, and when England gets kicked out, I do mutter under my breath, bunch of big Jessies. At least Saddam Hussein kept his football team in line, but they were never going to go to the top. But you always get the trouble when England loses. It's the penalties, you know, all this business. So it's a great thing having that there. I think it's an appropriate place. But we need to make sure, as we've worked on, CCTV is spot on. We're going to get lots of security there so people feel safe. Because everyone remembers when England doesn't get a penalty, some people, a few people, get a bit over the top. So that would be my question. But it's a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong. It should be in the town centre. But we need that reassurances. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I think there are several points as well that we should highlight, because we take some of it, I think, for granted as to how much progress we've seen over the course of the last 18 months or so when it comes to the regeneration of the town centre. This time 2 years ago, we did not own the Westgate. The Westgate was in the hands of a Gulf State pension fund. that did not care about what was going on in Basildon town centre and was packing it with pretty useless retail. Now we're in a position, thanks to a planning application that's gone through, for us to get some residential housing, some key worker housing, to get the town's first hotel built in the town as well, which is critical when you talk to people at the hospital, when you talk to Fords, when you talk to Leonardo's, when you talk to all of our major businesses who tell us every single week that they are in desperate need. If you look at capacity in hotels across this borough, certainly Monday to Thursday, it is almost at 100% in terms of hotel occupancy. So it is desperately needed that we bring in some more hotel space, and to put it in a town centre where you can get some nightlife. Look at what we've been able to do. We got the cinema over the line. We got that contract finally signed. We've seen the Wetherspoons opening, and you've seen the nightlife returning into Basildon Town Centre. You've seen people. We talk about community safety, safety in numbers. You now see people in the town centre walking around, which is critical. But we should also not forget that when we first started looking at the town centre master plan back in 2019, there were 55 different landowners in Basildon Town Centre. That made it non-impossible to get anything done and to come up with one coherent plan, one coherent strategy. And of those 55 landowners, many of them were absentee pension funds as well, who again were sat there sweating an asset with no real desire to take anything forward. What the council has done through its commercial acquisition strategy to bring those assets in the town centre back into public ownership, to give the Basildon taxpayer more say and more power over what is going to go on in that town centre, I think is really, really important. And when you talk to investors and you talk to the private sector, they will tell you land assembly and the ability to bring things together is really important in terms of getting things moving at pace. And the other key thing that it's done, which we should be really clear about, whether it is Acorn House, whether it is Kelting House, whether it's Northgate House, whether it's Southgate House, whether it's the Westgate, this administration has protected the Basildon public from London boroughs buying up our units and our buildings in our town centre. They are doing that in other boroughs around Essex. They are not doing it here in Basildon because of the position that this administration has taken. So we will ensure through the Basildon First Charter that we have enshrined that it will be local Basildon businesses that are building, and where they are not, we will be coming after those developers that are not using local Basildon businesses and local Basildon trades. They will start using our local labour, and we will make sure that whether it is to rent or to buy, Basildon residents go to the top of the list and get first dibs on those new properties when they go to market, as I say, for rent or for sale. I am also acutely aware of the need to improve the retail offer in our town centre. We know that we need to do that. I have spent an inordinate amount of money in Waterstones over the course of the last, and Wetherspoons, over the course of the last few weeks and months. I know that's not for everybody, but we need to now ensure that we have a better retail offer, not just F&B, but we've also got an offer for people when it comes to shopping and clothing and all the rest of it. And there are some major shopping retail names that are coming into the Eastgate Shopping Centre over the course of 2026, which will help that. The two game changers in this is not the residential, it's not the F&B. The two game changers are the hospital, which is now actually with a plan to be funded. So it's not just a planning application that sat on a shelf. We're actually funding it and delivering it and opening it in 2026, and that will see 200,000 visits a year. That will help to enable the rest of the Eastgate to stay open for longer hours, so that after 4 o'clock our town centre is not a ghost town, but there is reason to be here. It will mean with a hospital that there are reasons to have a hotel, not one but perhaps even two, in our town centre as well. And the other end of the town is the arena, a multi-purpose arena, 3,500 seater, the largest indoor event space in the East of England region, here in the Basildon Borough, in our town centre, to put us on the map The home of Depeche Mode, the home of Alison Moyet, will now be the home to the largest indoor music venue in the East of England region as well. And that will look to generate around 300,000 visits a year. And we have a duty as part of the work that Mr. Tizard has outlined with our contractor to look at what concessions we can put in place, what we can do to support local businesses, local artists, and ensure that the community benefit from having that facility in our town. But the minute you start talking to investors and you start talking to retailers about having 500,000 movements a year through this town centre with an arena and a hospital, suddenly they want to start opening their shops again. Suddenly they want to start putting Basildon into their growth plans for 2028, 2029 as to what retailers want to come here. That is the result of coming on 10 years of hard work with this master plan. And so the doomsters and the naysayers who tell us constantly that it can't be done and it shouldn't be done will have to come up with an alternative plan that gets 500,000 people into that town centre every single year, that gets money spent in that town centre that is better than what we've got on the table today. And spoiler, in the last 10 years, I've never heard a single idea from anybody other than an amphitheatre in the middle of the town centre, which never went anywhere. Before I invite the Cabinet, Councillor Barnes indicated that he would like to come in. So, Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm perfectly comfortable with England having a foreign manager, but I think I'll stick with Thomas Tuchel before I go with Saddam Hussein. Councillor Smith. Okay. To be honest, you've taken the wind out of my sails to some extent, because I was going to ask, how did the officer's report relate to actual sort of practical improvements that residents are going to see in their lives? But I think you may feel that you've covered that off, so I shall leave that at your discretion.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Mr. Tizard, for taking us through the report. Like yourself, Mr. Leader, I'm a St Martin's Ward councillor that takes in our town centre, and St Martin's Ward councillors, like you and I, have a duty to make sure that we leave the town centre better than we found it. And over the last 18 months, the work that you've done to be able to drive forward regeneration in our ward is huge credit. And as you quite rightly say on many occasions, that your eyes do not deceive you with the change that we were able to see in Basildon Town Centre. It's very clear that developments are taking place, business confidence is back, people are coming back to Basildon Town Centre, and with people in our town centre, it creates job opportunities, it creates an environment that people want to be able to be in, and as you also quite rightly say, a town centre that we want to be in after 4 o'clock. I've been impressed with the developments that have taken place in Basildon Town Centre that not only brings two of my favourite shops right next door to each other in Waterstones and the West Ham shop, but that's just my own personal choice. But I also think we need to be able to create an environment for more employees in mixed-use venues across the town centre, and particularly with the arena coming in, being able to create job opportunities for young people. Mr Taylor and I just last week, or just before Christmas, went out to visit one of the youth clubs taking place across the borough. And what was really apparent listening to young people at that first session that we went to was talking about jobs and their first employment opportunities. And many of us will have had job opportunities on the old Saturday job, working in a corner shop, working on an events venue. Those venues that we're building are not just creating brilliant places for people to want to come and spend their Saturday evening. They're creating environments for people to be able to get their first job, the skills that they need for life in those workplaces that we're creating. So I think this is something that we should all be proud of, should be able to look forward to, and will make a real difference for generations to come for this borough. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. You're right. I almost forgot that there is more, because we are also going to see in 2026 the opening of a live lounge and a comedy club in our town centre, a podcast and music studio in our town centre. I'm getting there. There's so much to get out. And, of course, the boxing club that will also be coming into what was the old Robbins Cinema site as well. So bringing these buildings back into life. And if you think about that part of town, the boxing club and boxing venue in the Robbins, the construction academy in that part of the town, the cinema, the comedy club and live lounge, the Weatherspoons, and then if you want to go into Waterstones off the back of that, you can, or stumble into the hospital, all within 100 yards of each other. So there is plenty to do in Basildon Town Centre in 2026, and that is why it is also critical, as Councillor Callaghan said in her update, that those forums kick off next week, and we begin the work of getting out and talking to the community, because when we announced this in November, people were queuing up to come to us, and we found businesses that are operating in our borough that are doing some of this in other boroughs who are desperate to do it here in our borough, and we need to give them the opportunity and the tools to be able to do it. As we've seen on the streets of Basildon over the course of the last few weeks and months as well, if you build it, they will come. And we're seeing that. Wetherspoons said that of all of the new Wetherspoons that opened, Basildon was the best performing Wetherspoons anywhere in the country, and that competes up against other towns and cities. And the knock-on effect to the Orletto Lounge, that's also been doing really well, is a positive as well. There is no doubt that Basildon is getting better, and we are going to continue to invest in it to put it back on the map as the capital of South Essex. Councillor Powell, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I think kind of just in answer to Councillor Barnes' question around what we've given or what people will actually see is choice, a bit of hope, a bit of belief. We've had people talk down this borough, and I think before we came into administration, there was no plan. You would walk in through the town centre, empty shops, empty units, no plan, no purpose. It just was down and out. And what we have come and done is obviously injected that belief and that life back into it, got the investment, and starting to give people choice. And that is through listening to what our residents want in their town centre. The podcast studios, the live lounge, the music, the boxing is what people genuinely want. And that's what we can deliver for people. And they're going to be people moving into the town centre. There's people that use our town centre and come through our town centre that are going to stay, spend more money, and have more reasons to be here. And I think it creates different economies as well. If you come here in the day, hopefully there'll be a lot more shops that come and open because they know the footfall has risen. So for those that are using the town centre to shop and run errands in the day, there'll be a lot more choice. But come 5 o'clock, walking through that town centre is terrifying, to be honest, especially this time of year. I wouldn't do it by myself. And by activating those sites and by creating options for people, it feels a lot safer. There's a lot more going on. You do not feel like you're going to be walking down a dark alley. So what we have done and what people will see and they will feel from this is choice and a little bit of belief in their town centre, and hopefully pride in their town centre as well.
Yeah, I want to add my, enthusiasm for this arena and this huge cultural offer that this administration is bringing forward. And I think one of the biggest challenges with a major infrastructure project like this is helping people understand what's possible and see what we're trying to bring to Basildon. I know I'm not the only one who's just sick of the misery brigade on social media talking it down, telling people we don't want it. You don't know. Nobody knows how good it's going to be because we haven't seen it. So I want to ask officers if we can put on record that I've been asking for a while, but I need it to be on record now. We need some kind of engagement event around the arena, not just with our investors and our stakeholders, but residents who need to see it to believe it. The technology is so exciting. The technology is, you see it once and you think, wow, why wouldn't you want that in your hometown? So I think we definitely need to do a lot more to bring people along, differentiate the voices, make them more diverse, bring in young people that are actually excited about this and change the narrative.
Thank you. I think officers can note that, and certainly with our contractor as well. That is something in terms of the engagement exercise that we have already spoken about. The need to bring that forward. I think the exciting thing now is that particularly at this end of town, obviously with the Westgate phase 1, but then with the M&S and then with the arena, we are into the realms of looking at some of these CGIs now, so we can start to visualise it and we can start to see where all of this is going to go and what it's going to look like on the outside as well as the inside. So we've reached that critical point. I also think it's really important to understand about the financing of this stuff as well, because there's lots of noise and nonsense on social media. Take as an example the development that is being built out now, the construction site that people will see with the steel frames coming out of the ground. That is being funded to the tune of £170 million by Starlight Investments. That is a private sector company that has looked at Basildon and said, we are going to put £170 million in. And Ms Lyons, Mr Tizard and I have been walking them round the town centre looking at different sites that they want to invest even more money in. And that's just one particular investment house. There are many, many others that are looking at Basildon as well. So this idea that the taxpayer and Basildon Council has to stump up the money for all of this, it isn't true. We will, for example, we can be putting our land into those deals. There's many different ways for the council to get this off the ground, but working in partnership with the private sector. And what we've done with the investment partnership, and we'll talk more about that later on, but that investment partnership enables the council to move quickly and agilely, that's not a word, is it? And be more agile. Do a Trump. We'll make it up. But we'll move more in a more agile way. And we will therefore be able to attract more investment into the borough from the private sector, because we are seeing them literally queuing up, wanting to talk to us. 25-30 minutes to London on the train, and that train line, you know, C2C, one of the best train lines in the country, 100 metres from the front door of this new arena and event space. All of that makes this incredibly exciting and attractive for the private sector. So again, the doomsters and the naysayers need to understand, or need to tell us, what do they know about the funding that we don't know, because we haven't got there yet in terms of figuring out how much all of this is going to cost. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You shouldn't pick on our friends who follow fake news, but it's entertainment. There's no Big Brother, no reality dramas. We're their proxy. But if it makes people happy, we have thick skin to take it. That there's a real criminal they should be digging at, these fake news book warriors, is County Hall and their Cashgate. How many, its first year, it robbed £1 million of motorists. The scheme was funded by then central government money. As you know, Mr. Leader, it caused a number of accidents. It was poorly signed. My inbox every day during that first fortnight, head-on collisions along Station Way and Cherry Down. Now, my concern is that all these great and wonderful things we're doing, bringing outside investment. People who've never been to Basildon for years, they could live as close as Benfleet and say, let's come to Basildon and watch the boxing. That'd be great. Lovely. And because it is so, it's just on that legal limit that county can get away with of entrapping innocent law-abiding motorists who are keeping their eyes on the road, watching for other passengers, and the potholes they refuse to fix. We need that Cashgate decommissioned. Hopefully it will be done no later than local government reform when we get Baz exit, but this is something we should be working on. Because out of that first year's worth of £1 million they made from nicking innocent motorists, the amount of people who wrote to me from neighbouring boroughs to say, I will never visit Basildon again. I will not visit your town, thinking it was Basildon Council that put Kevin Bentley's Cashgate making money for Essex County Council. And you look at the roads around that area, they are terrible. How county gets a green light for highway repairs? Their audit and risk committee needs a careful going over, because that ain't right if it comes to Basildon. Maybe north of the county the roads are brilliant, which they probably are, but around our town centre they're less than brilliant, and we have to get rid of that Cashgate because it is so great and wonderful bringing people from neighbouring boroughs, even south of the river, when they build that new Thames River crossing. It's so great to have these people visiting our town, spending the money, as Councillor Ferguson said, Saturday jobs and the like. But when we've got county's Cashgate, it's like watching Arthur Daly there with his Trilbury hat on at County Hall going, lovely, let's mug the motorists. We need to decommission that, because that is just highway robbery.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I did note the green light that they were given. I think the DFT may have used the same methodology as Morgan Sindall's customer satisfaction survey when it came to looking at how that one was to work. And you do make, yet again, a very powerful argument for local government reorganisation. At risk of repeating myself, we are just weeks away now from the Secretary of State telling us what the new configuration is going to be and how we can get ourselves out of the two-tier system that is completely outdated, totally inefficient, and holding boroughs like Basildon back from being able to grow in the way that we are seeking to with the plans that are in front of us here. We're going to move on. Thank you to Mr. Tizard for that update. We are moving ourselves into part two, which means that we are seeking a vote on moving into part two in order to protect the council's commercial position. All those members in favour of moving into part 2, please show. Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? At risk of a video appearing on social media, should we do that vote again? All those in favour, please show. Very good. Those again? No. All in favour. Very good. Can I ask that the webcasting be turned off? And can I thank our member of the public for being here this evening, but unfortunately